I haven't got started on today's business book yet, but what I have been doing is reading job applications for a junior lawyer position that we've got advertised at our firm at the moment. And after reading through 20 or so of these this morning, I thought I would quickly come on here and share a few tips for people who are applying for a position in law, especially if you're applying for a junior position or a graduate position, and perhaps you haven't had as much experience in putting together job applications. So I've made a couple of notes and I've got 7, I think, points to share about how to help you with your job application. These have come from the applications that I've been reading this morning. Now, just for a bit of background, I have probably read thousands of applications for particularly junior lawyer positions in my role at Birmingham Ride, the firm where I work. So I have had the experience of seeing some really, really great applications and some not so great applications. And I know what stands out, having read hundreds of these things. So you can take these tips from me, knowing that I have had the experience, I'm reading these things quite often, and as somebody who's reviewing them and deciding who I want to interview, these are some of the things that I look for as an employer. So the very first thing is please follow instructions. I always have on my job ads a request to apply through our online application form. There are a few reasons why I do that. One is because it makes it easier for me to review the application when the information is all in a certain place. But one of the other reasons is that when I do that, it's really, really clear to me who can follow instructions. Because I'd say probably about 50% of the applications I receive don't follow the instructions and apply using this online form. Instead, they might just hit apply on Seek, they might email me their application, they might phone me and ask me how to apply. This isn't a cryptic message, it's not hidden somewhere deep inside the application, it's clear, please apply through this online form, click here. So that's my first tip for you, follow instructions, because it may well be that just the simple act of how to apply separates you from other people. I often don't even look at applications if they haven't come through following the procedure that I've asked. Especially if they haven't put in any effort. So I might give them a little bit of leeway if I can see they've written me a cover letter and they've addressed the selection criteria, they just haven't uploaded it through the form. But if it looks to me like somebody's just hit apply on my CCAD without putting any effort into their application for me, especially if they haven't followed my instructions, they go straight into the no pile. And that might sound harsh, but don't take it that way, because it's actually a really easy instruction to follow and a really easy way to guarantee that your application will be read. All right, so following on from that, tip number 2 is if you're going to write a cover letter, and you should, address it to the right person, proofread it. Don't leave in references to another firm or another job title or some other place that you're applying. Often people do that, and at the same time they tell me that one of their really good skills or one of their really important traits is attention to detail. And I instantly question whether they're just telling me that because that's what they think I want to hear. Because if they're applying to my job and they've got the name of some other firm in their cover letter, attention to detail is not looking so great. Now, I'll be honest, I have had at least once before somebody has written to me attaching a cover letter with a reference to a name that wasn't my firm, and I wrote back to them and I said, just to let you know, you may have attached the wrong cover letter here. And the reason for that is because I could see they'd put a lot of effort into the application, and I honestly thought it was a genuine error. So this isn't necessarily going to give you a big red strike, but it's something that you need to be aware of. I mean, pay attention to detail, write a decent cover letter, proofread it, spend some time making sure that you're addressing it to the right person. And again, little basic things that will really help you to stand out. Okay, tip number 3, I've got written down on my notes here, address the selection criteria. Okay, this one is a make or break. because if you haven't addressed my selection criteria, there's a pretty good chance you're going right to the bottom of my pile. Now, what does it mean to address selection criteria? Maybe I can start by telling you what it doesn't mean. It doesn't mean I have the following attributes and copy and pasting the selection criteria from the website. It doesn't mean saying I share your firm's values and copy and pasting the information on the firm's website into your cover letter. What it means is addressing the selection criteria, so taking each criteria and writing a few sentences about how that applies to you. What's your experience with that criteria? Do you have any examples that you can share? Address the criteria. And I think one of the most helpful things to do if you're applying for a job that doesn't have an online form that asks you for your comments against each selection criteria is to put it in your cover letter and use headings. Use each selection criteria can be its own bold heading and write your comments underneath. And as someone reading the applications, that's really, really helpful because it's really clear and really obvious that you've taken the time to actually address the criteria. Every now and then I'll read a cover letter where I'm not sure, where I might think maybe they're trying to address the selection criteria here, but I also don't know if this is just a generic letter that they have given me that might kind of hit some of the marks. So if you can address the selection criteria using bold headings with your comments underneath, it's going to be really clear to the person who's reading your application that you're doing what you've been asked to do. Okay, tip number 4 I've got is to sell yourself. And what do I mean by this? Well, so often when I read applications, I hear, I am looking for experience in such and such a practice area, or I want to broaden my skills, I want to develop my career, I'm looking for training, I'm looking for mentoring. And look, I'm happy for you to tell me what it is that you're looking for in the relationship, because of course employment relationships do go both ways. But what you really need to do to stand out amongst this massive pile of applications is sell yourself. What are you going to bring to the firm? What skills do you have and how do you see them benefiting us? How do you see them applying in the role? Give us some examples of the type of work you've done that you think we would like to hear about, or you think might be similar or hit the selection criteria. You need to sell yourself. And the more you can make your application about what you can give to the employer, the more you're going to stand out from the crowd. And that's no different to marketing in any other area, whether you're selling business to business or business to consumer. If you're selling products and services, that's all about positioning your message so that you explain how you can solve someone else's problem. And it's the same here in your job application. Work out how you can sell yourself. What are the skills you've got that you're going to bring to the table, and what can you give them? Don't just make it all about what do you want from the relationship. I recognise and I acknowledge that can be really hard when especially if you're a junior or you're applying for a graduate position and you don't have much experience in law. But I'd say think about the experience you do have, and if you've spent time working in a restaurant or in a shop, what about the customer service skills that you've got and how you're going to bring those? What about any involvement you've had at university and maybe things like committees or student groups and the kinds of skills you've got from those organisations, and how can you bring those into the firm? So if you just give it a bit of thought, you'll be able to come up with not just what you want from this relationship, but also what you have to give. Okay, number 5 is why this job? Quite often when I'm reading applications, I really don't know why somebody is applying. Now, that might sound a bit odd. I mean, yes, we all need a job, we all need to pay the bills, and so that's one reason, and fair enough, we all need a job. But quite often I'll be asking myself, why do you want to work with me? Why do you want to work at this firm? Why are you interested in this practice area? What is it about this job that you're interested in? And that's not always clear from the applications. So the more you can make that clear, I think the better. If you can really explain in your application why it is you're interested in this job, show some excitement and some enthusiasm about the job that you're applying for, so that it's clear that you're not just sending a stock standard application and that these words are not the words you include to every employer, but that this role that you're applying for is one that you're really interested in, and here's why. Okay, your resume. I think my number one tip with your resume is don't make it too long, or your CV. Don't make it too long. I think the more succinct and to the point and precise you can be, and the simpler your resume, the better that is. You need to really cut to the chase. This is with your cover letter as well, I suppose. Often the people who are reading your application will be going through a stack. So today I've read so far, I think about 20 applications, which isn't that many. I didn't print them all. I didn't read them all because I didn't all apply through my form. But today I've read about 20. When you're reading a lot more than that, which happens quite often, it can be tiring. Let's just be honest, it's tiring. You're reading lots of information that's similar, and the more you do it, the more tiring it becomes. And I find that I have to try really hard to focus and to concentrate. So I have to give myself lots of breaks in this process. But the point for you to take from that is that you need to stand out. How can you make your resume and your CV, how can you make it stand out? What information can you include? What words can you use? What language can you use? That's going to kind of break the mold a little bit. That's going to say, this resume, this application that I'm reading is different to the 20 that have come before. So I need to, stop and read this properly. How can you make yours stand out? So cut to the chase, include the important information. Try and think beyond the stock standard. I work well in a team and well as an individual, and I have great attention to detail, and I'm organised and I'm on time, and the kind of things that we're taught to write when we do career aid at school in terms of what are your skills. Think a bit more broadly than that, and try and be a bit more creative in terms of how you sell yourself and how you describe the skills that you have and what you have to offer. And then my last point really leads on from that, and that's formatting. And the way you format your application is another way to really help yourself stand out from the big pile of applications that your employer might be reading. So you can do this. It doesn't need to be difficult. Canva is a tool that I use all the time for kind of graphic design, but you don't even need to, your resume doesn't even need to be graphic in nature. I just want to see that you've put some effort into it. One of the things that's really important in the practice of law or the business of law, or in the job that you're going to end up doing, is how well you can communicate with your colleagues and staff. Communication it's broad. So if you've written a cover letter that's not addressed properly, that's not formatted very well, that's got different fonts and different fonts and different font sizes, that's paragraph spacing isn't very consistent, it instantly doesn't look good to the eye. One of my first thoughts would be, well, do you really know how to operate simple word processing? Can you create communications? Can you create documents that are easy to read, that are client friendly? So Word is fine. Create your document in Word, but see if you can apply a bit of formatting to make sure it looks decent. And then if you want to go up a level, then try tools like Canva. I'm not suggesting that you necessarily need to have the most artistic resume. We're interested in seeing what your skills are and how you want to sell yourself for this job. But the more design you can bring into your resume, the more, and your cover letter, the whole package, into your application, the more you're going to stand out from the crowd. I really like it when I see people who have put some effort into the style and the design of the documents that they have produced. It makes them really easy to stand out, because most people don't. A lot of people just put very, very basic formatting. I think Times New Roman, if that's even still a thing, I think it is. But they're difficult to read. They don't stand out. So think about how you can format, think about how you can design your application. Okay, well, those are my tips. Let me run through them again. So number 1, please follow the instructions. Number 2, write a cover letter and make sure you reread it. Give it some love, give it some attention, and proofread it. 3, address the selection criteria. That one is absolutely essential and so many people don't do it. So the really, really easy way to get yourself to the top of the pile is just to address the selection criteria. Number 4, sell yourself. What do you have to give, not just what do you want from the role? Number 5, why do you want this job, and this job in particular? What is it about this job? What is it about this firm? What is it about this business that makes you want to work here? Number 6, I've given you some tips on your resume or your CV. Don't make it too long, keep it concise, keep it to the point. And then 7, formatting. Put some design into your documents and into your application, and that's another way that's really going to help you to stand out from the masses of applications that are often put in particularly for junior roles. I hope that helped. I was reflecting on this. In fact, I reflect on these kinds of ideas every time I read a batch of job applications. So today I thought, let's share this on video. All right, I hope it helped, and best of luck with your job applications.